Live here.
Oh, wow.
All right. Hello and welcome to Reasonable Doubt. My name is Murray Newman. I'm the president of the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association and your host for tonight. And we're having technical difficulties.
Caller, turn your TV.
Sorry.
down.
Turn your TV down, yeah. Sorry about that. But welcome to Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association's Reasonable Doubt. I'm glad to be joined tonight by my vice president, Damon Parrish.
Not that bad.
And he is to the left of me, I promise, even though we're awkwardly continuing on me. Now there we go.
The wide shot. Yeah.
All right, so we have got Damon Parrish, Vice President of HCCLA. We also have our treasurer, Justin Harris.
I didn't bring the checkbook.
Justin Harris.
Justin Harris.
County.
Who is here. We have, Mark, are you getting some screen time? Mark
Yeah,
Turtle.
Mark Turtle. All right. Yes. Yes.
The man
Our
behind the
producer.
curtain.
Really
Yeah.
neat.
So it's nice to see Mark on here, and we have a very special guest tonight, Franklin Bynum, my former roommate, former judge of County Court at Law Number 8 of Harris County, the man who courts controversy at every turn because he wants it that way.
I'm here to do it tonight, let me tell you.
And we have got a great show tonight because we have a tremendous election to unpack.
Yeah, we do. And I look forward to talking about it.
There's a lot. So, and you know, the thing that's interesting though about this election is there weren't that many judicial benches up for grabs,
Yeah.
at least not yet. I think that as we go into 2024, what's looking like is going to be another Trump versus Biden election. I think that most people feel that it's probably safe to say that Harris County is going to be blue again in November. Do y'all agree?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you can't change math, you know. There's just more Democratic voters in Harris County than there are Republicans. It doesn't really matter what the turnout is.
And so really, it's kind of like, I think we were talking about it the other night, the AFC playoffs. This was the real Super Bowl was the Democratic primary. And there weren't too many benches up for grabs. We actually, was it a week or two ago, we had some of the candidates on for some of the contested benches, and we had Allison Mathis, we had Jamel Haynes, and we had Juan Aguirre, and they were literally win, lose, or draw. Allison won hers. Jamel, he tied his, so he's going to a runoff, and unfortunately for Juan, he lost to Ashley Geis. But let's break that down. So let's start with County Court at Law Number 16. You had Juan versus Ashley Geis, and Ashley had served what court was she?
I believe it was County Court 3.
Okay.
She was County Court 3. She took over after
Judge Hughes got
went to
tapped
the
to go to
Immigration Court?
Yep.
Federal Immigration Court.
Federal.
She took over that one. And
Well, I
She
mean,
was also on
not
the
really. I mean, immigration judges are like barely judges. I mean, they're like
Okay, so-
hire and fire employees of the Attorney General. I don't know. I mean, love and respect to my former colleague Judge Hughes, who also was in a race, but like immigration judges, they're not really.
Congress
they're
has
not.
tied all their hands, right?
They're not really judges.
Okay,
The
so-
88-page discretion book from Kim Ogg. Like,
Yeah, no, it's. Yeah.
So Franklin's coming in with the controversy early. I mean, we were just going to make an offhand comment.
You know, if you can't hold me in contempt, you're not a judge.
Yeah. So, all right, but she did. She's on her way to becoming a judge because
That's right.
she beat a civil incumbent judge, right?
That's
right.
And that was interesting because we didn't have this on the criminal side of things, but we had several incumbent white male judges suing to keep black female opposition candidates off the ballot, and that obviously did not turn out well.
nor should it
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
What's funny about Ashley Geis, the judge now, is one, she is actually an experienced criminal lawyer. She spent some time as a defense attorney, prosecutor, public defender, and then judge. As the county courts go, she's probably one of the more experienced criminal lawyers on the bench. So I'm sorry.
She's not there yet.
Well, I mean, for sure.
Yeah,
but
but I
that race was one that I felt sorry for because I also liked Juan as well, and I thought he did a great job. So I think with County Court 16, you're going to see, hopefully, fingers crossed, a win-win across the board, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those times where so often we've voted for the lesser of two evils. And in that particular bench, I think it was just the better of two candidates. And it's really unfortunate that they split the vote.
Well, and you know, and the reality is that as criminal defense attorneys, we comprise a small section of the bar, you know, and so we all kind of know each other. And in some instances, we do have, hold your nose and vote, but we also have these occasions when we have two people that we think very highly of running against each other, and that's
Like
and that's always tough. And
the race in the 230th.
Brad Hart
and
and Chris Morton.
I don't know, like both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a tough race also.
Yeah, and it's great for the voters because when you see that the Chronicle is saying that the voters can't go wrong, and you agree that they can't, that's good for them, but it makes you sad because somebody's got to lose that.
It does.
And I agree with you that Ashley was great when she was on the bench filling out the unexpired term of Judge Hughes. And I tried to be very clear. I absolutely had nothing against her, but Juan and I go back to the old days of like early 2000.
Y'all are old.
We are.
I'm
we
glad
are
you
old.
stressed the old
He's older
days.
than I am, but
That's impossible.
But the thing
That's
is
impossible.
that Juan is just such a nice guy. He's just like literally the first guy to volunteer, and so I really do hope to see him on a bench someday.
I think we will.
Yeah.
I hope so. My only negative about Juan is one time I was at a park. I was with my family. We were playing kickball, and I saw Juan jogging, and I looked at him and waved, and he looked at me and kept on jogging. And I remember that. I felt like I got slighted.
He wasn't running for office then.
He was running though.
Yeah, but not running for office.
I
He was
remember-
running, and I was like, Juan, wave at me. And I was like, I know that guy. And
Your
he
kids
didn't
were
wave
like,
at me.
"No, you
I'm
don't,
like,
Dad."
I felt really silly at that point. I didn't forget it.
I sympathize with that because there was one time I'd recently gone through chemotherapy, and I had also been in trial, and I had lost, and it was going to the PD's office for the appeal. And so I had a lot of my stuff, and I was trying to carry it in, and I was weaker and all this stuff. And I ran into somebody from the PD's office and asked them if they'd help me, and they said no.
Yeah.
And yet here he is sitting as
It stuck with you, didn't
It did. I'll never forget that. I'm like, hey, do you mind helping me? He's like, nah, I'm good, man.
I'm going to ask the viewers, every time you hear Murray mention chemotherapy, take a shot.
Yeah.
You
That'll
might
be-
get a
that-
little.
That'll be the last time.
You might get asked what he
Figure
says. You
hell
might get a little. It's kind of like David Ryan and being a volunteer firefighter. You're going to hear that story a few times.
Yeah, I don't know. If you beat cancer, though, it's okay. You can mention it.
Just going to mention it once. So we have Judge David Fleischer who says, hi, guys, is this live? Yes.
Yes, Judge
No.
Fleischer, it is.
Yeah.
It's pre-recorded
Yes.
Call in.
from the future.
Oh yeah. We need to
Thanks
put
for
the
watching,
number
Judge.
On the
All right, so let's go to the other decided race, which was our friend Allison Mathis, who soundly defeated Ramona
Ooh,
Franklin.
that was a routing.
But it wasn't as much of a routing as it deserved to be, given Judge Franklin's behavior, in my
Right.
opinion. What did we think of this?
It was definitely a routing. And there are times when, unfortunately, when Kim Ogg beat Devin Anderson, that you can tell the voters specifically picked a person. Other races were kind of close. Other races were kind of tight. That one was a specific pick. And, kudos to Allison. She's been a friend of mine since she's been a licensed lawyer. I look forward to seeing her on the bench, but she definitely won that bench. I think that was one where the people came out in support of her. And so I look forward to seeing what she does as a judge.
And and she's a friend of mine as well. I've gotten to know her through HCCLA, really, and she really has been someone who's a tremendous asset to HCCLA on taking on special projects. She is not afraid to work hard. I kind of put the bug in her ear about running for the 338th, and she's like, okay. And
every time Murray takes credit to take a shot.
Then you can take a shot.
No, yeah. Well, I take no credit for telling this Franklin to run. No, but
He also does not run.
right. But the thing that I thought that was interesting that Allison said about her race and running against Ramona Franklin was Allison said she was going to all these different precinct meetings and all the different communities, and that Ramona Franklin had very little community engagement, and it just seems like that's just kind of a no-brainer if you want to keep your bench, is to stay in touch with the public. And,
Right.
And I mean, I get it. It takes a lot of energy. That's one of the reasons I don't want to ever run for anything. But I don't know if Ramona Franklin saw the writing on the wall and just didn't really try that hard. But I'm very happy and look forward to seeing Allison on the bench. She's facing off against Michelle Onken at the DA's office in November.
It's going to be a tough one.
But I think we're going to have another sweep in 2024.
Maybe. I mean, that's going to be a tough one. Michelle Onken also is a good attorney. Worked with her when I was a younger attorney, and I think it's going to be a tough race. I think it'd be tough for Allison.
Even though she looks 15 years younger than me, Michelle's actually older than me. She was at the DA's office even before I started, and she's
I think
been there
everybody
a long
looks younger
time.
than you.
This is true. This is true.
Everybody, except for Juan.
And
When
except for
Damon-
Juan. Juan is very, very old.
Is this another drinking
and-
game? When Damon makes a
Yeah.
age joke, you take a shot?
Yeah, and I thought making age jokes about Juan was like my deal too.
No, it's a group effort. President, vice president.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We sharing this together.
Same agenda,
as
ticket.
executive to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Juan, you're old.
What about
of HCCLA?
where does Judge Fleischer fit in the age scale here? Is he older than us? I mean,
I think he's 39.
Baby.
no.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, I think
So
so.
he's younger than us.
No.
Yeah.
You're making up numbers now.
You're just guessing. You're just guessing.
It's just tea in the,
I mean,
in the cup.
What's
It's
in
just
that
tea
cup,
in the
sir?
cup this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You know, I am not 39 anymore.
I was 39 once.
I was too a long time ago. Not as long
So-
as Murray.
And we also have a runoff with Jamel versus
Vivian King
Vivian King.
from the DA's
And
office.
that was a close one in the sense that Vivian almost avoided the runoff. So it was a three-person race, and the third person was Ramona Franklin's husband, whose name escapes me. I don't know if you guys. I know he's a Fort Bend prosecutor, but he's not someone I'm familiar with. But there early on in the evening, she had 47%.
Yeah, she was
Coming out of early voting, and I thought that there was a decent chance that she might do that. But you know, if you look at the 2008 election where Kelly Siegler beat Pat Lykos in the primary by a significant amount, but then didn't clear a runoff, and then went on to lose in the runoff. You know, anything can
Right.
Runoffs are totally different. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, the dynamics are, particularly in the Dem primary, you know, I mean, what you get is you get the early vote and the mail vote tend to more reflect the institutional endorsements and so on. And then on the day of voting, it's you know, it's very much name driven, and so that's why you have this tidal wave of, you know, women, people with names that, you know, identity politics kind of names. I mean, no one will sit and tell you that they like identity politics. Everyone who brings it up says that they don't like it, right? But also everyone has a different understanding of what that is.
Right.
But you know, in a runoff, basically you get those motivated kind of higher information voters in a much higher concentration, and it's just really hard to move the needle on turnout. So if you have, I'd say in a runoff, look to the people with the best ground game and the most institutional endorsements, you know? And I think that also, you know, people that have like records that kind of will fall apart upon some more scrutiny, like they can kind of gloss over that down ballot in a general race. But if you're talking about a runoff where you only have a handful of races, you know, I think that between now and the end of May, people will have an idea of, you know, Vivian King and some of Vivian King's anti-trans comments on her reality TV show that she was on with some of our friends. You know, I mean, there's just a lot of this stuff. I mean, Vivian's got some laundry, right? I mean, sorry,
she's got a
Vivian.
lot-
I mean,
she's got a
I
lot of
remember
laundry.
former Houston Media Source host Vivian King, Truth and Justice
She's
Vivian
actually
King.
back again.
Oh, is she?
I
Not
think she's
former,
got a
it's
show.
Is it current? Well, why haven't I gotten called to get on then?
I
Probably
wonder
because
why.
You might tonight.
So,
like,
couple of updates. Judge Fleischer says he's 49. And Juan Aguirre just tuned in. He missed all of our nice things that we said about him and also all the old man jokes that we made about him. But the good news is he's a young man if he were running for president. You know.
I mean, he's younger than Biden. Who not
Right.
I mean, you're barely younger than Biden.
Yeah, he's a little
waiting for you. I was
younger.
like, you just set that up.
And Juan is a little younger than Trump
Just
too, not by
barely.
much. So
Barely.
and we got JV is watching. He says, "What's up?" But yeah, no. So like I remember in 2008, because obviously I lost my job at the end of 2008. You know, based on the results of that election. But like literally, you had two things that were up for grabs in the runoff, and one was like the railroad commissioner, and then the other one was district attorney, and Lykos had a lot more internal longtime Republicans that came out and voted for her. So it'll be active, and I know that there are groups like Indivisible Houston that very much support Jamel. So
I mean, I've had the pleasure of, in my earlier career, working with Vivian as a defense attorney, and I thought she was a great trial attorney. I'll give her that.
Is.
Absolutely phenomenal. I've worked with Jamal in my later career, and I cannot imagine a more smarter person. If you ask Jamal for help, and the first thing he'll tell you is like, hey, did you read the code?
Yeah.
Did you read the offense report? And I think when you talk about the temperament of a judge, one of the things I look for beyond fairness, we all want fairness, is somebody who's willing to say, I don't know the law, and I'm willing to look into that. I'm willing to research it. I'm willing to learn. It reminds me, and I'm not making this comparison to say he's like this, it reminds me of Judge Belinda Hill. She is somebody who I think everybody universally across the board agrees is a amazing judge. And I've been in trial with Judge Hill, and I've literally heard her say, I don't know this issue, let me go research it. And I mean, I thought to myself, like, wow, you know, you're Judge Hill, I would think you would know this if I know it. But she took the time to go learn it and made the right ruling. I think Jamal will be the same way. His temperament is one of somebody who wants to learn, who is fair, who recognizes that the first step in any legal question is the law, not how I feel.
Not ego.
Not ego, not what I want it to be, but what does the law say, and did rule accordingly. So, I mean, I casted my vote for Jamal, and I will again.
Same.
I definitely will again.
Yeah.
Such a low bar for judges, though, really. You know, like, you know, they're willing to read. They're willing to, you know, be fair. Like,
It's not a low bar, but it's something that we see so rarely.
well, I guess
Judges
that's
will
what I'm
admit-
talking about.
admit
Yeah.
ignorance,
Yeah.
and then actually go and try to find the real answer. Not just say, I don't really know, but here's how I'm going to decide.
Yeah. Here's
You
my
know,
gut, you know.
And
Here's who should win.
Correct. That's what we see more. We see it more like, I want this side to win, and so I'm going to rationalize everything I do for this particular side. And damn the law. And I think that that's a problem. And I feel really upset about that, and I'm going to keep my mouth tempered. But I think Jamal as a judge would be like, here's what the law says, is what it is. And I respect that. And that's really, in a trial, all you want.
Right.
You want a fair shake, follow the law. If I've got to follow the law, you have to interpret the law, interpret it correctly. That's all we want.
Well, I'll just say it. I mean, Vivian can be a terrible judge, awful. I mean, would be a world historic bad
agree.
judge. You know, and Ramona Franklin, Judge Franklin, you know, what I used to call her the other Judge Franklin. Justin, I know you heard me say that, but, you know, she's only the second worst. At best, she's the second worst district judge. I mean, it's still is kind of a horror show over there, folks. You know, I mean,
oh yeah,
it's better.
There were a
Well,
lot
you know,
that ran unopposed, and I was sitting there in the ballot box going, why? I mean, thanks, Allison, for stepping up and doing this service to justice. But
Yeah.
there are 3 other races on there. I was like, unopposed, really?
Well, and if you look at what
Democrats
happened,
don't know who they just nominated, unopposed.
well, and if you look at the civil benches and how many incumbents lost their bench over there, and you look at Allison, it can be done. You know, I mean, I think historically that there's always been this reluctance of either both the Dem Party or the Republican Party to run people against the incumbent. And I'd actually be interested in your perspective on this. Over, you know, what do you see in ways that the party itself like tries to discourage, or in your case maybe encourage somebody to run against an incumbent?
Right. Well, I mean, my particular case, I mean, I'll give you the longer answer because it's an hour-long show.
Go for
it.
You know, the party, my understanding of it is that the party is not as centrally they never really had a lot of central control, but they did try to encourage slates and so on. I mean, back in the 10 or so years ago, 10, 12 years ago, there was more of an idea that you had to kind of be in with the party people and get on the initial kind of slate, the official, unofficial slate. But now, I mean, I think that for various reasons that are very good, they shy away from stuff like that. So it's not really the party itself that's pushing one candidate or the other, or that's protecting some of our terrible district judge candidates or not. I think that probably the party apparatus just down the street here probably understand what the horror show of a lot of the Dem judges are. I mean, they hear it, they know, but they, you know, it's maybe not a priority for them to you know, pick an internecine kind of battle for themselves. But yeah, I mean, then it just comes down to, in my particular case, right? I mean, it was one specific person who was trounced, right? Well, I guess we'll get to that eventually if we have time. But like, I mean, I could tell you, I know the day and the time that she summoned this young prosecutor to her office, I mean, and the thing is, like, that's just politics, that's just what it is.
You're talking about when Kim Ogg summoned Judge Ramirez to run against you? Is that what you're
Right.
referencing?
Yeah. But like I mean, so I know all that, right? And people are like, oh, Oppo research. Who cares about Oppo research? Like that's not what I don't care about. I never really cared about anyone I ever ran against, Right. I didn't come on when y'all had Dan Simons on. I don't really care about him. I don't care about him now. I didn't then, I didn't really care about Erica Ramirez, and I still don't. For me, running for judge was about me, and my surname is Bynum, so.
Really?
Yeah, it turns out.
Before we move on to a different bench, I did want to say this. In the 338th for sure, I've long since said that absent her bond rulings, and those bond rulings were
Horrendous, yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
Being in her court really wasn't that bad. Like, we could compare her to the pantheon of other places that are terrible, but having had hearings and like PSIs in her court, I found that she also was on par with the other judges as well. Once you get past the bond issue, which is a big issue, and I'm not going to stress that that's not small. Your freedom while you wait for 2 years is very important, so that was a very big issue. It wasn't as bad as it kind of appeared. I'm happy for Allison, and I hope that there are some changes made to that court. But I just want to be, I guess, in defense of Ramona Franklin, it wasn't as terrible as some of the other courts that we practice in that are atrocious.
Well, let's not also forget that she also did that whole thing where she wasn't letting lawyers come in and stand with their clients.
Yeah,
that's pretty dang
bad.
big
I
too.
remember that. There were issues.
Mark, Judge David Fleischer says for us to call him and he'll talk to us about some stuff. But if you'll put the number up on the screen, Mark, if Judge Fleischer is still watching, we would welcome his call as well.
We used to have a phone
We
out
used
here.
to have it out here, but then like a decade passed,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and now we do it over the speaker. If he wants to call
Had
in,
one of these mics like taped onto the
Yeah.
receiver. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Hi, caller.
Right. How's it going, caller? I saw
we could call.
Todd DuPont today. I hadn't seen it.
He's on.
Todd's
Oh,
on.
we can't hear anybody.
We can't hear him.
This is David Fleischer, by the way.
Oh,
okay.
David.
There we go.
We thought you were Todd DuPont, but we're happy to talk to you.
Yeah, we'll take you as well.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
sir. Now we
Can
can.
you hear us?
Okay. So, yeah. You're talking about the party and what they do. They do nothing.
Okay.
It's funny because, you know about the lawsuit where we got sued with this election challenge.
Mm-hmm.
We were left on our own. We had no one to support us. We had to raise money. We had to fight this thing on our own.
Yeah.
They sued us in our own capacity. As a result, we were left on our own to get money to fight this thing. No one helped. And during the primary, prior to, it's the same thing. You're on your own. Because if you think about it, what happens if the party supports one person and then the other person gets the nod in the primary? You're going to have a lot of bad blood. And so I think that as a result, because of that, the party doesn't do anything to support anyone during the primary. You're on your own.
Well, they can't really.
What do you mean?
That's the kind of dance. That's the unofficial official slate thing.
So I say they can't.
They can't. They cannot.
they
They can
cannot.
legally
They
cannot.
cannot.
But I mean, more should have been done for, I mean, if the party needs to do everything it can to, get its kind of election integrity litigation chops going, because that's the
new normal.
That's the world we're living in. Yeah. And so, Dems can't be in disarray about.
Well, what I found interesting is you have that the Republican Party files this lawsuit, right? The Republican Party of Texas funds and hires a lawyer out of Forney, Texas, to file a lawsuit against 22 Democratic judges. The Republican Party funds this lawsuit, and what came out in the trial was, and in the motion for summary judgment, that they had all these theories, or at least they said they had all these theories. They had all this expert testimony that they were going to provide that's going to say this and that. And at the end, they had nothing. So the party supported them, even to the fact where they had nothing, still supported them and dished out $500,000 or more for this lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. No, they should have done
and
more.
Then we are basically left to fend for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that what that did was that it left a lot of, it hurt a lot of us,
Sure.
And it was really unfortunate. And we're still, to this day, still at it.
Yeah.
How long has it been? Still at it. We're still paying a lawyer.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And to maintain a bench that the voters elected you to.
So
It's not like, that's still a bizarre lawsuit to me. I don't know what would have happened if you didn't file an answer. You get a default judgment, and then what you get, you
that's
get
what
removed from the
it would've-
bench or something.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that. I don't know how that would play out. But it's a fascinating thing, and I didn't realize that the party didn't help y'all as much. Some of my questions though are, I think I kind of thought through this, but I don't think the Democrats in Texas are going to do much policing of their own. At least not right now, not for a while. They just want to see numbers, and they don't care if you're a Franklin Bynum or a Robert Johnson. You have a D behind your name, and now the color's changed. And I think that's what a lot of times they look for.
I think that's true for every party. And what I've seen for the Republican Party is that they only police their own when they don't toe the Republican line.
Yeah.
The Republicans have always been very good about party discipline, and their whips have been very strong.
Correct.
Democrats have universally been decentralized.
Or weak. I'm going to say weak. I mean, to be fair with you, they're not a very strong party.
But
and I can get some rationale behind people having issue with the Democratic Party. It's at least in Harris County, it's a better party, I think, at least for reform, for justice, and moving things forward.
than the Republican Party?
Yeah, and
Well,
as a voter who myself is independent, I do not identify with Republican or Democrat. I can look at the Republican Party and see at least a very centralized message, a very centralized support of their candidates. I am really curious at what the Republican response would have been had the Democratic Party launched the same lawsuit. I also remember the Democrats fundraising to save their seats, and I thought that was ridiculous. Why the
fundraised
judges
before the
had to-
election, not after the election.
Right.
but to
Well,
save their seats, and the Democratic judges have to come out of pocket to that. I thought
that
was
whole
a very
thing is
ridiculous
messed up,
notion.
and I don't know. I don't understand that because I never understood how do you win this lawsuit? What does that look like in court?
Right.
Does a sheriff's deputy come in and remove the judge?
Well,
because there's other sheriff's
right.
deputies who are sworn in that building to protect the judge from someone who's trying to put their hands on him to remove them from the bench.
Well, but to me, it was just it was very akin to we've all had that client that ignores your advice and then says I'm gonna appeal it. Well, it's like, okay, well guess what an appeal gets you? It gets you. I texted him.
Yeah.
An appeal just gets you another shot. Like it doesn't mean that you're acquitted.
Oh yeah,
it's
right.
fine.
You win the appeal.
So what are we
Guess what?
gonna
If you
do?
win
Have
this, you go
another-
right back to the same thing.
we're right
You
where
get that
we
whole
are.
trial all over again.
Well, do we still have Judge Fleischer on?
We do.
I'm here.
I just wanna
So
make
what's
sure
what's the status of that right now? I'm curious.
Ours and Parrish.
You're still paying a lawyer. What's going on with that?
Mark, I sent you a text message if you don't mind checking that.
There are 2 R's in Parrish.
Okay, that was what the text message was, Mark.
Parrish with 2 R's.
so-
Thank you, friend, for noticing that and letting me know.
And now the show can go on.
They spell it right at the beginning, right in the credits.
Terrible.
Yes, they spell it.
I thought you were complaining that I put 2 R's in. It
Yeah.
had 2 R's.
They spelled it right in the beginning. It was
What,
ARDOIN.
Yeah.
Oh man, the fact that All right.
So Judge, what's the
who's older?
status of the of that lawsuit? Because I got my own lawsuit. You know what I'm saying? So I tend to ask people, what's the status of your lawsuit?
How's your lawsuit going?
I don't want to talk about it right now. I will this episode. I will. When we get to the DA race, right? But
Wait, yours is. I had no idea. Yours
oh,
is
just
still going
stay
on.
tuned. This is the
this is his coming out party.
this is the
He's ready.
30-minute teaser for the B block of the show.
we're about to jump into the DA race.
But
because
tell us what's the status with yours? You're still paying a lawyer. I heard about a trial.
Well, so we won in summary judgment,
Good.
and the plaintiff's lawyers filed an appeal. However, I don't think that it was done correctly.
Of course.
So ours, we won that, and then we filed a motion for sanctions,
Good.
to recover our attorney's fees
Yes.
and all the money that we shelled out. I mean, imagine we're a bench that pays $150,000 a year. We shelled out $25,000, $30,000, right?
Mm.
And that was denied.
It's terrible.
And so that's where we are at this point.
Mm.
And I
Shame.
think that your question as far as all these people who are running up unopposed in the felony benches, Texas lists one of the lowest as far as pay for judges. And because it's that low, I think that you really suffer from the quality that you could have.
Why are you whispering, Judge? You're on TV, just
I
FYI.
just got in trouble with my wife. For talking.
The kids are asleep. I got you.
Yeah, I got too many kids, man. The woman in the shoe.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
you,
Judge,
buddy.
thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
I like that insight too. We don't get that a lot. Thank you.
No, I agree. And I think it's terrible that they got sued. They should get their money back.
That's ridiculous.
I
You don't
think
get your
it's
attorney's fees back in real property law. If you get attorney's fees, you don't get that in a bogus election. Sorry,
It's
bogus
no.
election challenge.
Yeah.
The challenge is bogus. not the
It
election.
was always funny to me from this lawsuit that from the Republican Party there was this heightened concern about election fraud and voter fraud and all that kind of stuff. And
Right.
the second you have an election where people are voting and you lose, you then launch this lawsuit, which to me is like the epitome of illegal election fraud and bullying. And I thought that was a terrible showing and really kind of smacked of.
I think that's just the new normal, man.
It was a terrible showing. I'm actually glad, Democrat or Republican, I'm glad the voters' right to choose won.
Yeah.
right.
I'm glad the voters' right to choose won.
So far,
So we're gonna. You're welcome to hang out with us, Judge, if you want to. But we're moving on to the big one, which
Yeah,
is.
it's been great to talk to you guys. I'll keep quiet and listen.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. So I heard Kim Ogg lost
I heard that
by a
too.
smidge.
I got an email from her
neck
saying
and
that.
neck, yeah. And I had to laugh because I learned from the 2008 election that oftentimes the early voting results are going to tell you everything you need to know. Mm-hmm. And so we all, for those of us who supported Sean Tier, were keeping our fingers crossed for a strong margin, but then it was like, whoa, wow. Like, I think it jumped out, 73 to 27 or something. I mean, something just
A real rowdy.
insane.
Yeah.
And, and I cracked the jokes, like, has anybody conceded before 1% of the vote was even in?
Actually
And I
made
think
the
she,
same joke.
yeah. Well, Franklin and I've got the Jimmy Ardwin joke. You and I've got the
smart jokes.
But I mean, it was just a beat down.
Yeah.
It was quick, fast, and dirty. It was
Real
quick,
bad.
fast,
It was
and
a
dirty.
decisive victory for Sean Tier.
And if you remember when she beat Devin Anderson, her marginal win was also pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, not this high.
It wasn't that high, but it was a message of support for Ogg when she won, that we support what you're saying and we do not like Devin Anderson. This was an even bigger message.
Right.
Whatever she thought she was doing with her term didn't land. And what was kind of
not for the
funny to me,
Democrats.
it didn't land for the Democrats. And what's funny was Ogg had some very negative, Anderson, when she lost, had like some very negative popular opinions
Sure.
in the media. Devin,
But
really
it was also
beat-
2016, and Trump was on the ballot. So whether she had been the most popular DA, what we said around our circles was Johnny Holmes would have lost in 2016.
I don't know. So if you look at the election that term,
Thank goodness for that.
for sure. But if you look at the election that term, Ogg lost by Anderson lost by a bigger margin than most other judges who got beat.
That's fair.
She got
that's true.
beat. It wasn't a party beat. It was a we don't like you. And that was the exact same thing we see right here. It wasn't a party win. It was a we don't like you.
Right.
And also, we like him. And I look forward to seeing this change because this was I like Tier, and I hope Tier sees this, understands this was a resounding message of support for you, but you can lose that support if you change.
We were saying the same things about Kim Og 8 years ago.
Sure. Yes.
Well,
right?
but the thing that's so amazing about Kim Og is that 4 years ago, in a 4-person race, she avoided a runoff. She got over 50% of the vote against 3 candidates, which you would think would have been pretty difficult to do. Maybe in a 3-person race, but in 4, I thought at least it would go to a runoff, and no problem. Like this drop in popularity was just huge. And what was funny was that the day after the election, I get the Texas Observer, the print edition, delivered to my house, and I looked through it.
How old are you?
And all, well, no, I got the online edition too. You know,
Oh, okay.
yeah, through
You're young.
you know,
You're
yeah,
young.
through my
Okay.
AOL account.
Your son helped you get that?
But no, but the thing was, Og's on the cover of the Texas Observer, and it's talking about her decline in popularity. And if you read through it, it seems like almost every paragraph begins with Og blamed. Like Og blamed, Og blamed, Og blamed, Og blamed. And I mean, just an absolute stunning inability to accept responsibility for anything. And you
That
can't,
happened in her office under her letterhead.
and the thing is that if you blame that many people, you make that many enemies, they're gonna come for you.
Right.
And she took big shots at judges, and she got
She
some.
blamed all the judges. She
All of
blamed
them.
Sean Tier for stuff. She blamed
Yeah.
everybody for everything.
It was so Trumpian of
Yeah.
her, in my opinion.
The whole
You know,
this
ju-
whole
of
campaign, this
Kim
whole primary
Og. Ooh.
campaign.
Well, it
has been
was
very
because I
Trump.
mean,
Oh, I said that during in early 19. The Chronicle ran a quote from me that was like, I didn't think they would bite, but I was just like, yeah, she's just like Trump.
she is just like Trump. She's
Yeah.
so much like Trump because every failure that she's had can only be because she was treated unfairly and had to be somebody else's fault. Or it's just not true.
Well, I mean, in general, I would just say that children of politicians would, probably tend more to be psychopaths. So
Okay.
lack empathy. So I mean, in that way, it's a tragic story, and she never had a chance. But
Wow.
How big is that spoon you brought to stir the pot of
Good.
coffee?
I like
yeah.
that.
I mean, you're just missing a cigarette and an ashtray here.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah.
Please
no,
do.
No,
Please do. Please do.
Mark will, Mark will keel over. But,
Well, Mark hasn't
No.
changed my name yet.
It's not
so
Mark.
Do what you
It's
gotta
not
do.
Mark. Please don't.
no, but I mean, I love Sean Tier. I think Sean Tier is going to add a level of people being excited about working for that office again, which I think does trickle down, make our jobs easier. When you're dealing with more experienced prosecutors, to have a charismatic leader that has tried some cases that people can follow and like. But as many positive things as I can say about Sean Tier, this was so just anti-Og. I mean, this was.
I was going to ask that. I went out to the mailbox and I got Sean Tier flyers almost every other day. I never got anything from Kim Og. How much of this do you think was people, as Damon said, liking Sean Tier and not liking Kim Og? Was this a referendum on her?
So
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I knew Og was in trouble in the first time she was elected. I was at the LGBT caucus when she lost it, and that was one of the most exciting political moments of my life. Watching
Well,
a
which
caucus,
time? Because didn't she lose it in
she lost both
2020?
times. She lost,
as
I was
well?
at 2020.
Yeah. Okay.
And when she lost it in 2020, I have never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
Like the amount of political oddity, I'm gonna say that to be polite, from her office to get the endorsement where she lost was insane. And to have, in my opinion, the highest ranking openly LGBT member person, elected official, not get the endorsement from your party, I thought spoke volumes.
well, and then
volumes.
let's not forget, let's not let it go that, she turned around on the org and said that they don't represent the interests of truly gay people.
Truly gay people,
You know,
yeah.
so-
right.
That's an cycle.
Right,
That's
right.
crazy.
It's the same thing. It's Og blames the caucus.
yeah.
One of the
She was
biggest,
like
most
one beer
successful.
away of just switching parties there at the last.
Oh, I
minute,
know.
like she decided to just steer into it because again, she cannot accept responsibility for her own failures. And rather than say I need to mend some fences, she's like the fences are stupid.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so it was just.
It's the fence's fault.
I mean, I don't know who was. I mean, surely she had somebody in her ear telling her to tone it down, and she wouldn't.
So here's the thing about your Trump
She might
comparison.
not have. She might have had people saying, "Turn it up."
I
Working
disagree
for
with that.
Trump.
Imagine.
I don't know. I
Here's
mean,
the thing about
the emails I was getting from her campaign, I was just like, "This is the way you're going during a Democratic primary."
Yeah.
Like,
Well, here's something that Franklin said that I'm going to agree with, but I'm not going to endorse the whole psychopathic, sociopathic comment. Psychopaths and sociopaths don't think they're wrong. No matter what you tell them is going on, they think they are right.
Right.
The comparison to Trump, and I won't endorse that one either, but I will say he's had plenty of people in his ears saying, hey, and he's like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. And that comparison seems kind of ringing true on here. I think there was many opportunities where Og had a chance to fix the path she was on, to make a right turn while she was making left turns, and for somehow, some way thought, I am steering this boat correctly, and it is going where it needs to be, and it has gone where it needed to be, and she lost her seat. I, like you, Mary, have gone through 7 different, you too, Franklin, this will be my 7th administration change. 7. Yeah. 7 different
I'm not as old
DAs.
as y'all, so I think
Yeah,
it's
I've only been for 15 years.
4.
In 15 years, I have 7 tier will make, or this election cycle will make 7 different election changes. And a lot of times the DAs came in with a heavy amount of fanfare from the defense bar. We supported Lycos hardcore. We supported Anderson hardcore.
Well, I mean,
No,
speak for
not
yourself.
Mike.
Yeah, yes, I was there for that. And then we supported Og, and we are supporting Tier. My only statement for Sean, and I like Sean, I voted for Sean, is I hope he remembers what it was like for him when he was in that office, when he was a part of that administration. I hope he remembers what it's like, and I hope he remembers that at the very least, the defense bar is not your enemy, right? And we can work together. You can do your job and be tough on crime and still be fair. And ultimately, that's what I want. Just be fair. You can be tough on crime, just be fair.
Well, he walks into, it seems like this is a pretty forward-looking conversation about what Tiers is walking into, But, if we double back to the backward-looking, I have some things. Remember when she went to, like, Dubai or something?
Yeah.
Where it's like a crime to be gay.
Said it was her ideal place.
Yes, it was a perfect place. I mean, I just, I want to take this opportunity to dig up some of my personal favorites from over the years. But talking about Tier and talking about what and about all the changes and everything. I mean, y'all know this, and anyone watching knows this, right? Systemically, there are hundreds, thousands of people wake up every morning and go to work in the CJC and jail complex, and then if you count cops that bring people to that complex, you're talking about thousands of people every day that wake up and do the job the way that they're accustomed to. That's just structurally where we are.
Right.
And like, as someone who has gone to meetings about changing structure, and we've been in those meetings together, Damon, you can talk all you want about fixing intake or something, but the thing is that cops call, DAs give advice, they make law enforcement decisions. There is actually an extraordinarily cop-adjacent DA office. It's extraordinary for being such a big city. Mm-hmm. And, you can make policies, you can do whatever, but the phone keeps ringing and the cases still keep getting filed unless you go to meetings and stand up to stakeholders about all those hundreds, thousands of people emanating from the CJC complex actually have to start doing things differently. And that is when people start screaming, right? I mean, we've been in meetings where cops were like, you're talking about like writing down a name on a ticket and that person's going to show up to court and that's how we begin a court case? I've never heard of this. This is insanity.
About cite and release.
Right, and I'd be like, isn't this your bread and butter, man? Like, aren't you, like, with the stars on your shoulders? Like, aren't you a cop? Like, you're talking about you don't understand this ticket?
So as an aside, and I've sat through a lot of meetings for Harris County, in Harris County as a defense attorney. One of my fondest memories was sitting in a meeting with Franklin Bynum over here, and a cop said something like to the effect, I'm not going to do that. And he goes, if you come to my court, you definitely will.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to sit there, because for the longest time, it was just me, defense bar attorney rep, like saying, y'all, we can't do this isn't fair. And then Franklin showed up and was like, not only are we going to do this, but you will definitely do it in my court. Yep. And it was cool to see like everybody at the table just shut the hell up. I still remember that moment to this day. Like everybody was like, oh.
Well, I want to jump in here. Our friend Larry Williams has commented and he said, was there ever actually a progressive mindset?
So Og, I think, started off and she was a career politician. She started off progressive. She did start off, and then she just quickly went to whatever she was. One of the things I really hope for Sean,
So she
I think,
lied
Well, for
and
sure.
then regressed to what she truly believed,
100%
which
correct.
was herself.
Yeah, I've always thought that this was always the politics of Og, and whatever she
Yes.
thought was politically expedient, she would burn whatever bridge she thought. I think that's why she went after Hidalgo, was she thought that would actually garner her more love.
It's the whole Reagan style silent majority or something.
Yeah.
If I just keep going having press conferences at the Crime Stoppers headquarters, that they will come. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's actually, related to what you're saying, that there's a very particular point about the Anderson-Og race originally. And, Murray, you're probably right that the sweep was what the sweep was. But, the big issue with that down the stretch was that this jailed witness issue. And that was just, that was so perfect for Kim. Because Kim got to rail against basically like prosecutorial competence, right? It seems to an outsider to be a progressive stance, be like, I don't want to jail a witness. But she in her heart, I'm certain, was just talking about it in terms of just like, I would have never done that because I would have been, too lazy or thought it would have been stupid or, that was not something I would do as a prosecutor. And then she just got to ride that and get all this capital as far as like, oh, well, she's progressive. She's not going to jail witnesses. So, and then Devin did that very strange apology in front of a green screen. Do y'all remember that? And then wore like a green suit in front of a green screen.
But it wasn't a real apology.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't
It was
either.
a little more of a double down. But then you look at that and you take by the Ginny analogy. I met someone you're familiar with at Sean Tier's party, which was Dr. Gokal.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. I
man.
had not met him. Yeah.
Well, I drove past there. I was doing a jail visit that night. I drove past. It seemed too crowded.
It was crowded.
But the thing is, I'm not familiar with him aside from it's just a.
Yeah, it was a case that landed in your court, though.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
you know who we're talking about. This is the doctor when the COVID vaccines had just come out, and they'd run out of they've run out of people to give them to, and they had these ones. They had to be refrigerated, and they tried to get people out there.
That day or the
He
day
gave it
after?
to his family, right?
Gave it to his
He
family.
gave it to people he knew that were within the.
Get
Like
there.
the 1A, 1B category. He was, and he documented it and everything. I mean, it was.
Or
like,
throw away the vaccine
Right.
that we thought at the time
And so-
everyone needed to. Like,
But
not
that's
die.
Kim. That
is
is
Kim Og.
Kim because
Og.
Kim's salute. I mean, like for whatever reason, like whatever the problem, it just takes like strong police prosecutor power in the form of her, and that's it. I mean, if you look back at like her life, probably the longest job she's had continuously is like the head of Crime Stoppers. And like, she was in charge of the PR machine over there. And like, that's all she knows. She's not a manager. She's not a trial lawyer, for God's sake.
Right.
She's not any of those things. She is,
Politician.
she's a politician and she runs a cop PR shack on Main Street. And, that's all. And so of course that's all she knows how to do. That's all she's going to do.
Well, I'm really curious to see what she does now. Where she goes from here. I mean, she's basically going to be like, Cersei Lannister doing the walk of shame the second that she's no longer the boss. And I did hear that she, yesterday, what's today, Thursday? Yeah, yesterday, that she basically had a mandatory meeting, emergency meeting, where she basically reiterated the election wasn't fair, high-powered opponents, and they're coming after me because I'm so successful. And then
She used the line.
and then
I lost my job because I was doing my job.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
or whatever.
And
We'll join the club.
And you know what's funny is I was actually talking to someone who I won't name at Sean's party, and we were just talking about how Nixonian she was, and then this person I was talking to, he and I started joking, is she going to thrust her hands up and do the V for victory like Nixon did?
Yeah.
She did.
Did she really?
Yeah, like at the end of her speech, she does the, I don't know if she made the V's, but she definitely raised her hands just like Nixon. And I was like, wow, I didn't think she'd actually do that.
Well, one thing I noticed, having seen the election changes, is typically when for the DA's office, when the new DA comes in, current ADAs are kind of scared. Like, am I going to keep my job?
I don't see that
Am I
this time.
nervous?
No.
You know, they were all scared when she came out. People were scared.
Well, she had fired for like 39 of them before she even got there, so they had good reason.
They had good reason, but I'm saying every DA change, the ADAs are fearful for their job. This is the first time there's a DA change, and the ADAs are just
relaxed.
happy. Like everybody just
so
relaxed.
relaxed.
You saw some smiles.
Yeah.
Like no one was concerned. They were like, please come. And I really take that as like a sign of what it was like to work under her. And I think one of the reasons why I think Sean might be successful is having been in that system and having been a trial lawyer, he's seen what a bad manager, like Franklin said, can be and what bad policy can do and can fix it.
Okay.
And so I look forward to it.
So I want to give equal time to the naysayers, and
All right.
and we have a naysayer in chief with one J.V. Vela, who's got some comments that he is not quite as excited about
my last name?
about the tier administration coming in. He says that all the ask every defense attorney who had to try a GD case where he was chief, everything was Sean says no deal, and we're going to trial. So JV's got some strong opinions on that.
I mean,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I don't think JV's wrong on that. You know, I don't know that Sean Tier is particularly progressive. He married himself pretty well to the reproductive rights and treatment. But let's see, I don't know how well the Code of Criminal Procedure and the Penal Code allows treatment and these community-based courts and those kinds of things. So I'll see if he's got something there, but
We'll see if he'll ever stand up to the cop unions.
yeah,
Because if you can't do
January
that,
20,
Well, they didn't back him on this one.
well,
And what's
no, but
funny
you
is
you have to stand up to them.
right, you're gonna have to work with them, so you're gonna
So-
have to like find your balance of power, like standing up to them and making them follow you, or you following them.
I saw this was kind of funny that I think the head of the HPOU right now is a guy named Douglas Griffin.
Yeah.
And
Never heard of her.
And he, you know him, or yeah, I don't know.
We said never heard of her.
Yeah, I know. I thought he's being sarcastic.
I thought so, too.
But anyway, I saw like in his tweets in 2016, he was just railing against Kim. He wanted Overstreet to win back then, but then this year, you know, Kim's just great.
Yeah.
And which I thought, dude, you must have forgotten the abusive relationship between HPD and the DA's office when this all started. I mean, she locked them out of their that database that we
Yeah,
have,
I remember
you know,
that.
there
They
for a
couldn't
while.
get into the system
I was
to file
like,
things.
she's nuts.
Well, but there, you know, and the thing with Sean Tier, and he ran on those two big things. Kim Ogg did the same thing. I mean, when she came in, she seemed progressive because she stopped prosecuting marijuana cases.
Yep.
Right, and she kind of revamped the domestic violence or something, and she issued all kinds of pretrial
She didn't really
interventions.
revamp.
Well, she
domestic
changed the
violence.
letters.
She
She
called
changed
their
the name. Yeah,
you know.
but she
the artist formerly known as
But
DV.
she's rolled out all these pretrial interventions, which I think we kind of talked with Sean Tier. They were a good first step, but now it's like we just took that one step. And now it's like everything's getting shoehorned into that. Discretion's been removed in the way of like, well, let's formalize this pretrial intervention.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the next step is, but you know, I look forward to Sean. I look forward to change. I think that's why the defense bar
You know
has
what,
welcomed change so much.
I'm looking
we got
forward to some
3 minutes,
1244B
Franklin.
time. That's what I want.
1244B, heck
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't want. Let's stop talking about 1240. Let's
Did you-
push to B.
So you know
Talking
what?
about clients.
You know
Stop
what's
talking about
funny about
1244. First of all,
Yeah.
second degree felony doesn't even apply to you.
Yeah.
Second of all, why don't you talk about 1244B? Do you know anything about
B.
that?
Did you see
We're 1245.
that apparently Harris County Republicans just discovered today that there was such a thing as 1244A, and they were not happy about it.
Oh.
Alexandra de Morale Mueller, yes, it was hilarious. They're like, you're telling me that this guy's going to start using this little-known thing called 1244A and start giving felons misdemeanor time? And it's like, oh, honey.
Yeah.
Little known thing. You don't spend any time in the Harris County jail.
I'm like,
Talk to any of those jailhouse lawyers.
It's time to talk to Morale Mueller about the birds and the bees of criminal justice.
right.
Like, there's also a presumption of innocence. And,
Well, yeah, there's that. That's the whole
these other
fundamental
things,
basis of our
and,
government.
and it's like there was outrage on Twitter today over 1244A and B.
Oh, man,
That
gotta-
really
gotta
blew their
quit
mind.
That. Y'all got to quit that Twitter mess, man.
Oh,
Gotta
no,
get
I
off
love
of
it. I'm
Oh,
addicted
man,
to fighting
it's
with
terrible.
strangers on the internet.
So y'all asked what's going to come of Kim, and
Yeah, you got
frankly,
2 minutes.
From the great,
You got 2 minutes.
From the bottom of my heart, you know, I mean, after I get the discovery I need from her in my pending thing, as far as I'm concerned, she can fall off the face of the planet. But like, I do think that that there will be more comeuppance to come. You know, that like we all have these gold cards in our pockets, and she totally abused hers over and over again. And like, you know, I think the state bar is going to have something to say about some of her conduct over the time. I know, you know, I'm aware of some things in that regard, and you know, and not just her, but many of her lieutenants. You know, but like, is David Mitchum going to go ahead and get on the appointment panel? God, I hope not. I hope I never see him again, frankly. But you know, yeah. I mean, I think that actually the world. If I have one uplifting thought for the end of the show, it's that as unkind as the world has been to Kim Og this week, I think that there's more to come where that came from. And you know, inshallah.
Yeah, I think she
Got 1 minute.
I'll take a quick. I think she burned way too many bridges.
Way
I think it was
island at this
too much of too much scapegoating, finger pointing, and all that to come back from it. And I don't know if she can do it in Harris County. The one thing I hope Sean does, amongst anything, but I hope he does, is fix the intake, which he said he would. Not every case needs to be filed, and get the discretion back there. I think that's one of the ways Kim messed up, is that she just filed everything, even when officers didn't want it filed, she filed it, which led to an enormous amount of dismissals and people being jailed for stuff they should not have been jailed for.
All right. Final thoughts? Better be quick.
What do y'all think is going to happen with David Mitchum?
Oh, he's toast. He's done.
Was he going to do anything? Is he
No,
going to start
no,
taking
I
appointments?
think he can retire. I think it's the whole reason. I
Is
think
he going to rejoin HGCLA? Should we put some things on a listserv?
That's up to the president.
I think that the whole reason he went back was to get his retirement.
Okay.
And I think
so too.
and I think he got it, and I imagine he'll take it.
Just impish grin into the sunset.
Yeah, he disappointed a lot of us, I think. I mean, I always thought of him as a great defense attorney. But anyway, that's been a great show. That rocketed by our time. That's a fast way to spend an hour. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for voting. It's a new day in Harris County. Can't wait for January 1. We'll see y'all next week, or 2 weeks. Next week's spring break. See y'all soon.
Peace.